So, those of you who are here for the auction this spring know that, and previous years, know that I used to be like super Christian, and then I was like, wait, that's bullshit, and then I quit.
No.
Is the security a cosplay, or is it, okay.
No guys.
It's a very nice cosplay, and, oh, right. I was gonna say, goddamn it, furry, and then I realized it's not. Technically, that's animatronic cosplay, which is really well done, by the way. And it's basically not furry. Okay, so we saved one just for you. It's a cute little white blushing bunny.
I like bunnies.
$5.
$10.
12.
12. No.
$5.
15's over here, Tyler.
20. A muffled 20 from inside the mask that smells like semen and shame. Or box. I'm sorry, did you guys get the warning from last year? Okay, good. I mean, it just would have been more funny if you had.
Yeah, it would.
So we have 20 going once, 20 going twice. Sold for 20. Let's all be horrified. You saved puppies from being killed. Probably. Okay. Right, so I grew up goddamn fundamentalist Christian and then realized rather late what complete horseshit that was and decided I wasn't going to be that anymore, so I deconverted and am an atheist now. I'm like, this is working fairly well for me. So, because I have a master's in theology, I was really serious about being a Christian, I am aware in intimate ways that the rest of you cannot comprehend of how bullshit certain, I mean, if you're Christian, that's cool, but there are certain elements of Christianity that are bullshit, that are just holy shit. You guys have no idea how bullshit some of these elements are.
So Hail Satan? No.
Hail Belphegor, because Belphegor comes from a 15th century fanfic that a priest wrote about, oh, let's write about demons and how we can get rid of them. And he invented this one called Belphegor from Baal Peor from the Old Testament, 1st and 2nd Kings. And he decided that it was the demon of laziness and technology who invented technology to give humans a reason to do less work. And I'm like, this is my jam! Because that's A, my industry, and B, that's my, like, laziness is the programmer's primary skill set. So that's great. Hail Belphegor. And then it got, that particular book got popularized in an episode of Supernatural, I think. So now everybody knows about it. Which is great. I've still only seen the first season of Supernatural. I'm aware it starts getting good in the second, just haven't gotten around to it. Anyways, so I left Christianity behind. Specifically, I had already left fundamentalist Christianity behind and moved to more of a, moderate sort of, live and let live. And then after that, I was like, no, actually, there's an imaginary friend in the sky. This is bullshit, and I quit. But I am more familiar than I'd like to be with fundamentalist Christianity. And this is important for the story I'm about to tell. Because a couple of months ago, I got into this new social group, LARPers. Honest to God, it's the most ridiculous bullshit I have ever done in my life, but it's so fucking fun because it's basically a solid weekend of improv. So I do this NPC thing, right? Which is, okay, for the next 2 hours, you are Patronus, the water knoll lord, and you hate this guy, you like this guy, your goal is this. And I showed up, and everybody was like, does he actually hate us? Because we've only just met, but he is just chewing up the scenery. I'm like, you liar, you murdered my people! Just like, it's improv acting, it's absolutely fantastic. But it's fucking ridiculous, because I've got like costume and face paint on. There's no audience, right? I'm just like, dressed up as water knoll, I'm gonna shout at people who are pretending to be a giant cat dude and a half-elf. And they're like, no, we tried to save your people. Lies! And it's ridiculous bullshit. But it's incredibly fun. So, in this social group, I encountered some cool people that I got along with, and who I later found out, some of these people that I got along with, also were dedicated and self-identified as SJWs. Yeah. So, anybody here, hands up, not know what an SJW is? Really? Because you were here last year. Okay, you really? You don't know what it is? Okay.
Social justice.
Social justice warrior. Yeah. Yeah, okay. So, because I've met a couple of people in the past couple of weeks who are like, what's an SJW? Yeah, what's a social justice warrior? What's a social justice warrior? People who have not been on the internet, granted, but. Okay, hands up, who doesn't know what a social justice warrior is? You don't, really?
Don't know what that is.
Hang on,
Okay.
Tumblr.
Do you know what Tumblr is? Do you know, okay, do you know what third wave feminism is? Okay, first wave feminism, hey, maybe women should be able to vote and own property. Second wave feminism, hey, maybe we shouldn't say, well, girls don't like to play volleyball if we don't give them a chance to play volleyball. Maybe we should give the girls' volleyball team some funding. Maybe as much as the guys' volleyball team. Let's find out. Third wave feminism. Every problem a woman has is due to the patriarchy, which is a system of oppression that is the only reason that women fail at things, and is the reason that all women fail at things. And women are great and men are evil, and the reason that anything bad happens to women is because of patriarchy, and the reason anything bad happens to men is also because of patriarchy, and it's a system of oppression, and I'm triggered. How dare you assume my pronouns, you shitlord. That's the way of feminism. Yes?
Since we're talking about pronouns, I've decided I would like to be called a dragon. So I'm not a he, she, they, or them.
Your pronouns are trogdor, trogdet, and...
I'm done with it. I'm a dragon. That's what I identify as. So I know.
There are people...
I'm a dragon.
Yeah.
Get it right. Okay. Time.
There are people who literally, not po-facedly like she just did, but literally say, I'm a dragon, and if you don't refer to me as dragon, then you have triggered me, and that is the equivalent of assault. They actually believe that. So, I was talking to this person who was fairly cool in the LARP thing, you know, and she was a social justice warrior. And I was like, look, I used to be super Christian, and I became less Christian, now I'm not Christian, so I'm reevaluating stuff, give me the argument. And, I mean, that's the paraphrase, it was like a 2-hour discussion. And it got to the point where she was not only asserting patriarchy, and I'm not saying there is no such thing as patriarchy, because if we identify patriarchy as, there are cultural assumptions we have. Like, there's stuff like, okay guys, on average, every man here can just grab any woman and throw them off of a bridge, and the woman can't really stop them. That is unfortunate, but it's a fact, an observable fact of muscle mass, okay? There's other stuff like cultural assumptions of, if a man says, no, I want you to give me another $10,000 this year and I want another week of vacation, that's a man being assertive. A woman in the same review meeting saying, I want $10,000 and another week of vacation is bossy. Now, I'm not saying that happens all the time, but that difference in perception of the same action depending on gender, that does happen. So I'm not saying there is no such thing as patriarchy as some people explain it, but there's this problem where feminists, third wave feminists, especially Tumblr feminists, blame all of the problems on patriarchy. And what this does is, A, it robs women of agency. Because if a woman's business fails, the third wave feminist slash Tumblr slash social justice warrior's assertion is that it failed because of patriarchy and not because she hired people based on their gender and ignored their skill sets and ended up with an office full of backbiting harpies that torched the business to the ground, which did actually happen. There are other businesses run by women that doesn't happen to, but the third wave feminist asserts that the failure of that business is because of patriarchy, not because of business failures, because if a woman fails, it's because of patriarchy. And if a woman succeeds, she succeeded in spite of patriarchy. So A, it robs women of agency. B, they obsess about the systemic oppression. I'm not saying there isn't systemic oppression, or at least systemic problems, but they replace an understanding of individual responsibility and action with systems. So what they do is, they say, to disassemble this system of oppression, to counteract the weight of this system of oppression, we must set up a balancing force in legislation. So let us propose the Duluth model. Anybody know what the Duluth model is? I'm going to tell you. The Duluth model, which is active in Canada and parts of the States, is an assumption given to the police that says, based on feminist studies from the 1980s, I think, that have since been rather thoroughly debunked, if there is a domestic disturbance between a man and a woman, which is most of them, because of that power differential I mentioned, bear versus man versus woman, if there is a domestic disturbance, the man is assumed to be at fault, is assumed to be the one causing danger, is the one who needs to be arrested. Now, if in fact that were true, the Duluth model would be very useful. The problem is, initiators of domestic violence, according to recent studies, is a lot closer to 50-50, maybe 40-60 split by gender. Which means that somewhere, maybe just shy of half, maybe around half, of domestic violence victims are men who are struck by their wives. Now, obviously, because of the physical power differential, if a woman comes up and punches me, I laugh. Because unless they've gone through some pretty serious training, they're unlikely to know how to throw a punch. If they've gone through serious training and I see it coming, they're still unlikely to hurt me because I do have more muscle mass. And if I've had any martial arts training, which a little knowledge is a dangerous thing, but I happen to have had a little martial arts training, if someone tries to throw a punch at me, the odds of them successfully harming me are low in general, and I'm not particularly afraid of a woman punching me. But if we're talking about an environment of trust between two people who have committed to each other, and then one of them turns around and just, BAM! Out of nowhere, maybe it doesn't hurt physically, but it will change that environment where you're supposed to be safe, secure, loved, everything's fine. It turns your safest environment into an environment of fear and abuse. So, yes, women are unlikely to be able to physically injure men unless they pick up, I don't know, a vase. Smash! Call the police. There's been a domestic disturbance. Guy standing there, blood pouring off of his head, woman, not a mark on her, she says, he hit me, bam, he goes to prison. I'm not saying that happens all the time. Not saying the cops don't go, yeah, this smells a little funny. I am saying that the police forces in North America have been and continue to be educated on the Duluth model, which says, if you've got a man or woman, the man's assumed to be at fault. What happens is, because feminists see only the system of oppression and not a system which allows people to behave badly, because yeah, if you've got a system where women aren't allowed to own property, you've got a lot of dudes who will abuse the shit out of that. But the problem is not that, I mean, yeah, it's a problem that women couldn't own property in that situation, but it's the men behaving badly that actually causes the harm. So yeah, by all means, disassemble the system. But if you switch it so that now women own property and men can't, or Duluth model, men are always legally considered to be the assaulter, then what you get is men get arrested for domestic violence and women, generally speaking, statistically, don't very often. Because men know about the Duluth model, they're told by their friends, here's the patriarchy that feminists actually point out accurately. Men are told, she's a woman, she can't possibly hurt you, what are you whining about? She punched you? Big deal. Okay. B, men know, if I call the cops, I'm the one going to jail. And men, domestic violence victims, who happen to be male, don't call the police. Who here thinks that an environment where domestic violence victims refuse to call the police because they think they'll be arrested is a good idea? Right? Who would think, I saw that Hitler salute. Who here thinks maybe it's a very difficult situation and not a clean-cut solution, but maybe the Duluth model is not an ideal one? Okay, thank you. So I was talking to this SJW, and here's why I mentioned the fundamentalist thing. We were discussing things related to this. Things related to gender and abuse and dangers and all this sort of thing. And I said, look, I'm certainly an egalitarian. I think that there are systems set up that do not work well for people based on gender, but it's an issue of bad behavior by individual actors. We should both address systemic problems and not set up counterweights that counter-abuse. Her response brought me back to my childhood, because she said, and this is why my reaction to SJWs at this point is, nope! Her response was, this is not a discussion. I said, well, why are we talking about this? She's like, you need to agree with me. I'm like, you're looking for conversion. She's like, to my cause. Yes. I'm like, no. I grew up fundamentalist. You're looking for a religious conversion based on faith, not understanding. She's like, I wouldn't put it that way. I'm not religious. I'm like, yeah, except I'm intimately familiar with how fundamentalism works. And you don't go to church with a big cross on the building, but if your response to somebody who's disagreeing with you is, this isn't a debate, this isn't a discussion, your obligation is to agree with me and obey, there's some really good books about, how religions treat sex a lot of the time. And it's basically, sin is bad, sex is sin, you have to obey, and then we can fix things, right? I'm like, the reason that SJWs are dangerous in society, that I don't think we should engage in debate with them, isn't that they have no good ideas. It's that their response to discussion, their response to questions is, no, you need to agree with me and then do what I say. And civil discussion gets pushed away, and what you get is counter-abuses set up. So, that's my story about how I went from fundamentalism to SJWs are full of shit.